So this actually happened to a guy friend of mine that happened to be one of my closest friends. I'm just going to give him by the name of Jared. Now, Jared at the time was 17 years old and he unfortunately got through a breakup with his girlfriend as his girlfriend and him got into a verbal altercation that I do wish not to say who or what happened because it wasn't my business, but I'll do give out the best description as I can. Let's just say the argument ended on a bad note. So, with that being said, Jared was single after his girlfriend of 2 years had broken up with them after an argument. However, it wasn't until maybe a few days later where Jared decided to talk to somebody on via Snapchat. He was talking on Snapchat with a few other people, most of them including his friends, and maybe his sister also had it as well. Of course, he did use it to talk to his friends, but even then, he was still looking to see if he could find a girlfriend online. While looking online, he looked up to see that a name popped up. The name of the Snapchat was a username. I can't really remember what her name was, but it was definitely a really nice username that really have to say that it was honestly a pretty cool name. And a girl, let's just call her by the name of Kirsten. Kirsten was the same age as him. And since this took place sometime in 2017, Kirsten, along with if Jared started talking. They started talking and everything seemed normal, as if nothing ever bad really happened. They got along and they even had a few things in common, and it seems like everything was going just as fine. However, they would talk back and forth, and even after school it went downhill. Well, later on. It wasn't till after school when Jared ended up walking home due to him missing a bus. However, as he was missing his bus, he was talking to Kirsten on the phone. Kirsten said that she was in the area and that she could give him a ride. And he asked her what vehicle she drives, and she said it was a van. There were a couple of vans in the area where Jared lived, so he wasn't so sure what color it was. So he asked her what color was the van. And a few minutes later, that's when Jared looked up to see that there was a white van. It looked like a 2010 model, and it had the words free candy written on it. That's when Jared started getting suspicions that this woman, who was supposedly being Kirsten, was not her. He looked over to see the driver, who was busy on his phone. It didn't look like anybody that he expected to see, but he realized now that Kirsten was someone fake, only trying to get him to be lured out into near range where he could see him. That's when Jared ended up staying frozen for a moment. When he stood frozen, he ended up looking around before going into his house. His house was just down the street, and once he did, he ended up telling his parents about the van. They called the cops, but the van was nowhere to be seen. The only description that Jerry could give was what the van looked like, the year model, etc. That is when the police did a valid search for the area, but they couldn't find the van or this Kirsten account. The Kirsten account on Snapchat was eventually taken down as Jerry could not find her anywhere. He wasn't so sure why this person was a guy in the van, but that fake Kirsten account had to be something linked to somehow. But there was no way to know for a full-on fact that if this man was just using the Kirsten account just to catfish him, then he wouldn't know what would happen to him if he continued down that path. And eventually, if he ever continued and agreed to go with her, then the story could have ended a whole lot different. So, one of my best friends had Snapchat back in 2016, and her name was, her name was Melissa. Melissa was about 16 years old, and this happened to her back in 2016. Melissa got Snapchat since she got it because a bunch of her friends had it and they suggested she get it. And after with some weeks of persuasion, Melissa finally decided to get it. It seemed normal to have Snapchat as Melissa added just a few people that she knew, like her close friends from school and people she knew from high school. Everything was going well with Melissa chatting with some of her friends, mainly school friends, when she was one of the days. Of course, she had a day off from school due to, well, it not being a school day on a Friday, so she slept in and decided to get on a Snapchat call with one of her friends, Samantha. Samantha and Melissa were talking and they were explaining what they're going to be doing on the weekend, what they're going to be doing before spring break. It seemed to go very well. However, as Samantha was talking, that is when Melissa noticed something in the background of her phone. It appeared to be a shadow of that of a child. Now, at first Melissa thought that maybe it could have been Samantha's younger brother, as he was 10 years old at the time, but it didn't look like him. At first, she thought that maybe her brother could have been maybe pulling a prank on her, so he waited till Samantha returned. But, however, though, when Samantha returned to the bathroom, when Melissa looked behind her as her mom called her for something, she turned to see that the child was not there. Why Melissa's dad isn't there is another story, but Melissa ended up telling Samantha that there was a child staring at the phone screen of her Snapchat page from behind her. She looked back and said she didn't see anything and thought that maybe Melissa was just imagining it. Now, it wasn't until a few moments later where Samantha ended up getting something from her tablet. As she was playing on it, the child appeared again, and that's when Melissa pointed out the child, and when she looked back, Samantha screamed. That's when Samantha ended up hanging up the call abruptly, as some sounds were heard before she was hung up. Now, that's when Melissa tried to call back, but there was no answer. That's when Melissa decided to file a police report. After filing a police report and explaining the situation, the cops immediately went to Samantha's house. After at least a couple of hours later, it was revealed that Samantha was unfortunately kidnapped. And Melissa realized that it could have been the child from behind the photo, might have had something to deal with during the video, but there was no way to know for sure. Samantha has not touched her Snapchat account, and of course, a lot of people presume that she was dead or even been missing, but her family is not sure if she's still around. Of course, fast forward for 3 years later, it was revealed from Samantha's parents that Samantha was kidnapped and she unfortunately died. Her body was found in what seemed to be a ditch in the country road, at least 20 miles from where the countryside was from the city. Honestly, Melissa was disturbed by what could have happened to Samantha. That was the question that was still in her head. And Samantha's not sure what would have happened if Melissa did not say anything about it. But whatever happened to Samantha is unknown, as many police thinks that it was some sort of kidnapping and stabbing, but there was no way to tell what could have happened to Samantha. Melissa unfortunately did see that all of Samantha's social medias were closed down, likely by her parents after this incident. This still left Melissa in a lot of depression, knowing that she lost one of her closest friends at school by unknown force or whatever. Melissa still wonders who or what had killed her. There was no absolute no explanation as to who or what was the cause of this, but she really does hope for a fact that maybe, just possibly, maybe it might have been paranormal, or maybe that child in the background of Samantha during her Snapchat call might have been linked somehow. But that still questions Melissa to this day, and she's still not sure what even to think about it. So, for a bit of context, this actually happened to one of the students at school, and she was in senior year. Now, this took place back in 2018, and we'll call her by the name Luna. Now, Luna was 18 at the time, and this was around mid-spring, so it was before finals. She was at school when she had Snapchat, and of course, she's had Snapchat for a few years, and she has started talking with some people on Snapchat. There was at least 2 close friends that did have Snapchat she was talking to, but then she was also talking to other people she did not know. One of them being a man that she didn't even know. She was talking with him for some time, and even during classes she would talk on Snapchat, but of course she had to be sneaky since some teachers, in fact most of them, were pretty strict about the phones in school thing. It wasn't really that big of an issue, but it was definitely something that was really disturbing. Now, of course, this was when Luna ended up looking up to see that there was a teacher walking out, making sure that none of the students were on their phones during class time. Of course, she did put her phone away, but most of the time, she would text somebody on Snapchat. Now, she was texting this guy named Adrian, and he seemed to be at least 2 years older than her, and saying that she was in college. Now, this was honestly something, as Luna had been talking to Adrian for a while. While talking with Adrian, she ended up looking over to see that there was no one there, but honestly, there was a shadow that wasn't far from her house. In fact, she ended up looking inside the closet to reveal that there was someone hiding in there. She ended up getting the cops involved and explained what happened, but they couldn't find anyone there and assumed that whoever it was must have found a way out. It wasn't until the next day at school when Luna showed up. There was this one student that Luna had never met before. She assumed it was Adrian or something, but whoever this person was looked a bit old for her. In fact, it was one of the teachers, who happened to be maybe in his 20s, and he said, "Luna, why haven't you not answered my messages and blocked me the next day?" Honestly, as soon as Luna sensed what happened, she ended up reporting this to the office when her parents got involved in the whole thing. Of course, this is why Luna deleted her Snapchat, and she swore never to use it again because of this incident. Now, the teacher who was trying to catfish her on Snapchat was eventually removed from the school property. There was no way to know for a full fact that if it was ever someone on the phone, then who could have been the one on there on Snapchat. It was honestly a teacher, but it turned out that he was also been doing this to other girls as well, and he had been kicked out from many other places. Now, there was no way to know for a full-on fact if he was still there, or if he was been caught by police and taken to jail, but this man never showed up again at the school. And Luna still does not know why to this day, why a teacher would try to choose who's a student in school for many things, but Luna certainly does not want to know. She's doing all right now in college and has a wonderful boyfriend, but this story still gets her chills to this day. even when she thinks about it.